Yeah. So by the next time we do one of these, which would be, I don't know what, mid-October, you should be in an eye patch, right?
I will be.
Dude, that is so sweet.
I'm gonna look cool.
Are you kind of excited about it?
You know what? It took me a minute to wrap my head around it, but yeah, I think it'll be a good opportunity to look awesome.
Yeah, because there's no what's the diagnosis, by the way?
Melanoma.
So, fun fact, by the way, I talked to my I just did my annual checkup.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest thing. Like, I'm only getting better with age. Like, it was,
of course. Clearly.
Yeah, it was I was just kind of telling him that I do normal, like I don't know, skincare checks with my dermatologist once a year. And he was asking, well, why do you do that? I was like, I don't know. I thought you're supposed to, and I had a couple little things cut off me every now and then,
Yeah, you've been through it yourself.
Well, not like that though. I haven't ever had melanoma. I've had like those
basal cell.
Yeah, that one, I love that one time when they cut something out of my head, and the girl's like, "Well, we're gonna have to shave your head." I'm like, "No, we are not."
I'll take the cancer.
I was like, "I'll let that sucker grow." Yeah. I was like, "The top of my head looks like the face of Sloth off of Goonies."
You have
like,
a messed up head?
Oh, dude, it's super lopsided. Oh. Yeah, I can't have that. So I was like, "You can shave that one part, and I'll deal with it, but you're not shaving my whole head. You're crazy."
You're like a potentially life-threatening illness. You're like, I can't look silly.
She was cool about it, but no, it was like the basal cell carcinoma or something like that, and then they just cut it out and everything was fine. But my doctor told me that Utah is second only to Australia in terms of the prevalence of melanoma. Did you know that?
Oh, I sure didn't.
In the world.
What the hell?
Yeah. And I asked why.
Yeah,
and I was like, we just saturated with gingivitis here.
Is that what it is? It's an overabundance of gingivitis?
A lot of white dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, but
guys and gals. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's why.
Where'd you hear that?
From my primary care physician, not my dermatologist. No, Dr. Sharman. But I believe, shout out to Dr. Sharman. I believe what he's saying. So
I'm doing my best to try to get Utah to number one. Going to overthrow Australia.
And it has to, I think, has to do with elevation too. Elevation has something to do with it. I guess if you're closer to the sun.
Oh, shit. What?
I don't know.
That's the reason.
Yeah. But man, I learned. But that's so sweet though. Because like I said, the only person that I've ever known to have an eye patch lost that shit to diabetes.
Right.
And once I found that out, I was like if you lose your eye to a knife fight, dude, I'm down. That's like that amazing. Is sweet as a daisy. But you lose it to diabetes, I'm like, I mean, you know what I mean?
It doesn't have the same punch.
Yeah.
Same pizzazz.
Yeah. It's like sugar.
The cancer's not really cool either, though.
Well, I mean, at least it's better than. I don't know if we're comparing diagnoses here. But it's better than diabetes. I don't know if better is the word.
Better.
More gnarly, I guess.
Yeah, gnarly.
Yeah, but it's pretty good survival rate, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Oh yeah. That's what I was saying. Because that's like, I mean, everybody's like, oh my god, it's cancer. I'm like, it's not like that kind of cancer, is it? Because there's like cancer, and then there's cancer.
Well, this is the type of cancer, but it has to get to a certain depth. So I guess I'm going to screw this up, but I think it's 2 millimeters. If it's less than 2 millimeters thick, and so it's like nowhere near where it would spread to my lymph nodes. I guess if it's more than 2 millimeters thick, that's when it gets to your lymph nodes. That's when you're done. That's
okay.
Yeah. So it's super fit. If I just chilled with it and let it go, then it'd be lights out.
Yeah. Okay.
Eventually.
But so they're gonna, and what are they gonna? So they're gonna cut the skin off. What are they gonna replace the skin? Oh, dude, is it possible to just leave it? Like have an open eye socket? Like Two-Face off Batman? Can you do? I mean,
actually, you know what? That's a good point. Halloween's coming.
Yeah. I mean, really,
Halloween's coming. I was going to be a pirate.
At this point, we're halfway. How pretty do you need to stay?
Dude, the doctor told me that.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, I'm not going to make you any uglier.
You're like, damn, dude.
Yeah. I thought it was hilarious. I never had a doctor talk shit.
Yeah. So where's the extra skin coming from?
My upper eyelid and the back of my ear.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why the back of the ear?
Weird thing is this dude at Weber County Jail on Saturday, he had the exact same thing that I'm going to have. So it's a 3-part surgery, and he's had part 1 and part 2, which sucks because like
wait, he's a ginger too, right?
I don't know. He's an older guy. Might have been ginger at one point.
Oh, okay. Oh, he has white hair now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But surgery number 1 is they cut out a big chunk of my lower eyelid. Surgery number 2 is they do the skin graft. And when I have the skin graft, I'm going to have like skin that just, it's going to cover half my eye like a flap. It looks like a webbed, like a duck's webbed foot over my eye.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks freaky.
Yeah.
But then I'll have a patch on for that. I might do a big reveal on the podcast. Like,
yeah, dude, that'd be sweet. Hold on though. You're not going to get, you got to get a cool eye patch though.
I do. Well, I mean, it's just a black eye patch.
No,
what are my options?
I mean, we got to look on like Amazon or something
like
to get
Etsy?
like a badass one.
What's a badass eye patch?
Not
is,
just a normal.
That's pirate shit.
No, I'm talking about like that Dennis Hopper eye patch off Waterworld.
Could like a Dennis Rodman one. Dennis Hopper from Waterworld.
Yeah, you can get Hopper Rodman one.
Yeah, get the Hopper Rodman eye patch. Tight.
No, there's ones that like, or there's one on like this Attack on Titan this chick wears too that are pretty sweet. You get the normal one, come on.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's an easy thing to get. So
you look up an eye
listeners,
patch for me.
Get on board though. It's easy to get on board with, like, you know how there's people shave their heads out of solidarity.
Yeah.
You know, we can all wear an eye patch for like, how long do you have to wear it?
4 weeks.
For 1 month, right? And after we get all in car accidents, then
guerrilla social workers, I would be touched.
Yeah, send your pictures to and we'll see.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of sending pictures,
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good segue. Yeah. So tonight we're talking about revenge porn.
Oh.
Okay. You know what? I was thinking about this. I am so fortunate to just have the mentality of like, I get, maybe this makes me a prude or something, but I would be so embarrassed to, because I know the concept of revenge porn, but like the idea of filming myself engaged in sexual activity and then posting that, I would like feel so bad for whoever watched that and how bored they would be. Like, you know what I mean?
You're like thinking of their like experience watching you.
I really,
that's it.
As I was going through some of this stuff, I couldn't wrap my mind around it because I'm like a few things. I was just thinking, it reminds me of like if you were ever at a concert, like we were just watching that video of a concert, and you know how people will literally pull out their phones and video the entire concert rather than just being in the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what's the over under on you ever watching that video again? Like, I would say most people never even look back at it.
I had to ask myself that once because I used to at least get a good few songs, but I never watch it. So, I just
and it's just taking I was just like, just because it's super annoying, right? And you're it's crazy how people do it. They like watch the concert through their video.
Right.
It's on there. I'm like, what are you doing?
I've done it until I had a moment of self-reflection of what I was doing. I felt completely silly. And I've been good since. I haven't been that guy.
And even then, like pictures, like at a concert, don't really do it justice because like the lighting's all off, and you like kind of have to explain. It's like, and who are you going to show those to? Like, who are you going to show?
Nobody. No one cares.
Right. Exactly.
I think what happens is like concerts are fun. And so like you're having a great time. You want to capture the experience, but a photo or even a video for that matter doesn't capture the experience. It can't.
Well,
it's a live event. It has to be. I can't even watch a concert on like YouTube or something. I mean, there's a pretty sweet like Enter Sandman 1991 there's a great video of that.
Oh, is that the demo video?
Yeah, it's and Creed Shreds. Yeah. No, but
you create a demo video for your song. You're like, you're not even got a record deal, and you do a demo video. It's what a waste of time.
Basically,
they didn't really do it. We're just making that up, obviously. But yeah, dude, I was thinking like. Oh, okay, and this kind of ties into this though a little bit, because if you think about it, neither you or I have any like. I mean, I think you have a little bit of social media. I have zero, and I certainly don't think you do a whole lot of self promotion on your social media. Like to that degree, because that's essentially what that is. Like, you know, if you're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, these are just advertisements of yourself, right? That's all you're doing.
That's part of the problem that social media creates in society.
Well, right. And by the way, I'm not like talking shit on it. I'm just saying that that's essentially what it is. Like, don't try to pretend it's anything else. And if you dig that, and if you dig people paying attention to you as a result of that, like likes or whatever, are pokes still a thing?
We've both been guilty of it though. Remember MySpace?
Oh, dude, no. I'm not saying I'm exempt.
Yeah.
I'm saying back when on MySpace I had that, and then I remember like the amount of time and effort that went into like putting that on, and I was like, why am I doing this? Like it did, and I just did. Now again, that's my personal take. I'm not criticizing anybody who does this.
You dropped out of social media early though.
Really early.
You were one of the earliest.
2008 was the last time I deleted everything in 2008. So, and I haven't done anything since. And I don't have a need to, mostly because I'm just so busy, and plus I don't want people to know what I'm doing. Not that I'm up to crime or anything. I'm just, so I get it. Like if you're at that concert, like I saw some, girls all dressed up in their, I don't know, EDC gear, all their Electric Daisy Carnival gear, and they were at Armin van Buuren, and I could see, because they have lights on them and everything, that might be a cool video to, do a selfie thing and then post that on like Instagram and your friends to see it. That'd be cool. So I kind of get the appeal for it, but at the same time that constant, I guess, need for reassurance or for affirmations as a result of posting on social media kind of ties in a lot to do with why revenge porn even exists at this point, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, think about it. So it's not how I described it is not how it happens, by the way. Like, it's not I videotape myself and then shamefully I upload it. Enter. That's usually not how it is. It's usually, well, in fact, here I wrote down a definition here, and this was from an article. Is called Revenge Porn, a critical content analysis of the nation's laws and reflection upon social science research. This was published in the Journal of Criminology, Criminal Justice, Law, and Society. And I'll put the link to this in the show notes. But it says revenge porn, also known as non-consensual pornography or image-based sexual abuse, refers to the sharing or distribution of sexually explicit images or videos of an individual without their consent, typically with the intent to harm, embarrass, or intimidate the subject. So I suppose the typical strategy in this would be, I'm dating, a young lady or a young guy, whatever, and I ask them for a nude, right? I ask them for a picture. They send it to me, and then either right then or as a result of us breaking up, I decide to get back at them by uploading that. And they have like revenge porn websites. And in fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But some sites are just, or you could just put it on, I assume Facebook or Twitter or something like that.
People blast it out towards the person's family,
and then use that to like, I suppose you could use it for all kinds of things.
Could be shame, could be blackmail,
straight up embarrassment, or I could ask for something as a result of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's I don't think like people are filming themselves and then posting that.
No, it's usually someone uploading pictures that were meant for them.
Yeah.
With the other person having a reasonable expectation of privacy.
Got it. Yeah. Even then though, dude, I don't know. And maybe it's just, I'm not old.
It's degenerate, dude. We're 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the digital age with when we were born. So we had the luxury of not being completely consumed with that. So
But if you ever like, I mean, like think about it like this. I have a hard time I wouldn't even know how to, I wouldn't know how to ask for something like that. You know what I mean? Like anytime I've been dating a girl and she starts to, I don't know, talk dirty. I'm like, this is so foolish. Like I can't even generate like a response. And so I just leave it, and then it like offends her that I'm not responding. So let alone like I've had somebody say, hey, send me a picture of, your hee-haw. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, never ever would I do so. Like the male anatomy is the most grotesque thing on planet Earth. Okay. And mine included. I would never send that over the internet, just for the sake of the person, even at their request. I feel like I'm doing them a disservice at that point.
Yeah.
But even like I wouldn't even know the step to say, hey, what do you do? Send me a picture. Like, how does that, I don't even know how that goes over without me feeling super embarrassed about it. You know what I mean?
And yet it happens and it's endemic. There are lots of naked stuff floating around.
Well, right. And again, I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying, is that a result of us like just not knowing, what, I mean, just go jump into a pool without any water into it and just say, hey, send me a naked picture. Is that how it goes? Or
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is it's not new, it's not really that new. So it does go into this. It says this article acknowledges that revenge porn, relatively new issue in our culture, but it actually dates back to the 1950s. So I don't know if you knew this, but 1953, Marilyn Monroe's picture was published nude, and it was associated with Playboy, and she never gave consent for that to happen. So I don't know if that's revenge porn necessarily, but I mean, kind of says this
kind of under the umbrella of
non-consensual. Yeah. All right. And kind of a summary here on the abstract was, despite this being around for almost 70 years, we still don't know much about it or how it's dealt with by the law. So to understand it better, this study that we're reviewing today, we're reviewing two studies related revenge porn, and also checks out the limited research available. And kind of what they found was that while some new revenge porn laws are, of interest, most of them don't match up well with how this crime happens. So in other words, they're kind of unclear, inconsistent. So, like a lot of things, the conclusion is we need to think more about these findings and, policies for future research. So there's not really a conclusion, which we'll kind of get into some of these things.
If you're going a particular direction, don't let me step on your toes. But that's the thing I've been wondering is like, what do we even do with this as treatment providers? We just have to be careful here, but like we've had a recent referral for that, and it's not a registrable offense. It is either a misdemeanor or a felony, I think, depending on severity. But like, that I'm aware, there's no data to like show risk and like what is it we're preventing. It's not a sexual offense. It's an offense where sex is the tool. Like, I don't really know how to think about it from a treatment provider perspective. It's like, I guess criminal thinking we would work on, but like beyond that, it's not like, I feel like if we took somebody that was referred to us because they engaged in revenge porn or something, that like it wouldn't make sense to take them through the curriculum that we have.
Maybe not.
Parts of it.
Well,
but it's more like,
because even a lot of like, okay, so we use a tool, an actuarial risk assessment called the Static 99, right? And they kind of show this category A offenses, category B offenses. And category A offenses are offenses that we look at and say, okay, this is what would be considered, a sexual offense. Whereas category B offenses are certainly in the ballpark, but don't necessarily qualify.
Like peeing in a park.
Yeah. And this fits under a category B offense.
Does it? I mean, it makes sense that it does, but like, has it actually been, I haven't seen that on.
Yeah, I believe so. Huh. I mean, we can pull it up if we need to. I mean,
like, have you, well, I mean, I believe you. I'm just saying, have you seen this on some of the risk assessment tools that we use is it called revenge porn? Like what? It seems like a colloquial definition.
No, I mean, so this is the one thing I was thinking about with this was like, okay, here's how I look at it. Like, you change the age around, right? So you turn that into it's now a child, and clearly that changes the entire nature of it, right? Now you have a significant crime. But honestly, what then is the difference there? Is it just strictly the age, or what are the differences there?
At the time, so like with an adult that is a victim of revenge porn, it could be argued that at the time the picture was taken, the person had the capacity to consent to taking that picture for a specified person, whereas with a child, consent was never there from the get-go. So the sexual act itself is, so it's like this, the sexual act itself is what the crime is with like CSAM, and distributing it is illegal for the same reason, whereas it's, I guess, an adult being like a picture of a naked adult on the internet isn't by itself illegal. It's did the person consent to it at the time it was taken, and then did the person consent for that to be broadcast? So I guess the difference would be when the sexual act or the picture of the sexual act went down in the moment, was the person capable of consent? I'd say that's the difference.
Because, okay, so yeah, so I understand what you're saying. So then essentially consent when the sexual act occurred was established. Consent was not established when this picture was uploaded
right
at that point.
Yes.
Whereas with child pornography, consent was never established ever, because you can't establish.
Never on the table.
Right. So consent was never there, and I mean, the production of that material is illegal in and of itself.
Yes.
And then the distribution of that, obviously illegal in and of itself. The consumption of that, illegal in and of itself. Mm-hmm. Whereas the gray area tends to be, I now possess this item, and that's not necessarily illegal because it was given to me consensually. I mean, maybe, I don't know. So we're just saying, based on, for sake of argument, is given to me consensually. And then when I uploaded it, certainly I didn't have the consent of the individual to do so. But is that now a sex crime, right?
And that's a part I get jammed up with.
Here, so category A offenses.
It involves sex.
Category A offenses on here: aggravated sexual assault, attempted offenses, attempted rape, attempted assault, compelling the commission of any sexual offense, including bestiality, incest, or here, let's do one of these guys.
Nice, dude.
Or other sexual behavior.
Where are you at?
Flashing on a webcam, regardless if it's compelled, right here. Conspiracy to commit category A offense, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, where the offense had a sexual element. Distributing obscene materials to minors. No economic motive, presume the intent is sexual unless clear economic motive. Covert photography, which wouldn't count for sexual purposes.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Exhibition is, well, it says covert photography, victim is person being photographed, but if they took the picture themselves, like a selfie.
Right? The person, in a covert photograph, the person is, once again, not aware it's being.
Exhibitionism, if the behavior involved no sexual motive, this was kind of okay. Facilitating a sex offense with a controlled substance, forced oral copulation, forced penetration with a foreign object, incest, indecent exposure, invitation to sexual touch, internet luring, juvenile sexual tourism, traveling to another country in order to engage in sexual behavior, lewd and lascivious acts with a child, manufacturing, creating child pornography where an identifiable child was used in the process, molesting of children, obscene phone calls, online solicitation, paying for the sexual service of minor, rape, requesting feces or urine for the purpose of masturbation, sexual assault causing bodily harm, sexual battery, sexual communication with a minor, sexual homicide, sexual offenses against animals, sexual offenses involving dead bodies, sodomy, and unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor, and voyeuristic activity. So based off of that, it doesn't appear to meet a category A offense. And looking at this, it doesn't even look like it's in category B offense either. It doesn't look, It's
nowhere, right?
Oh, well, right here. So category B offense: revenge or anger motivated behaviors with a sexual aspect, distributing obscene images without consent, such as revenge.
Hey, all right. It's a
nice. Category B
Good
offense.
Call, dude.
Yeah. Certain sexual behaviors may be legal in some jurisdictions and legal in others. Count only the sexual misbehaviors that are. But even then, though, if you have a category B offense, the rules associated with that would indicate that this is not a an offense that I can now insert into a risk assessment,
Right.
and start scoring for purposes of determining risk.
Right.
And if you don't have that, then treatment becomes really tricky, because now you don't have a valid risk tool to then guide.
What are we addressing?
Right. You don't have to guide your treatment planning or anything for that matter. So it kind of complicates this as far as these things go, because the rule on here is if the offender has any category A offense on their record, all category B offenses should be counted as sex offenses for the purposes of scoring prior sex offenses or identifying the index offense. Category B offenses do not count for the purposes of scoring victim type items, with the exception of victims for non-disclosure for HIV status. Static 99 should not be used with offenders who have only category B offenses.
Yeah, okay, so it's dead in the water.
So yeah, so that's where I look at this and I'm like, oh, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I really.
How do you draw up a treatment plan other than just winging it?
I don't know. Because the intent behind that is the intent of the upload sexual in nature.
No.
Right. Or is it, I want to hurt this person. Right. So, and I'm not trying to minimize
hurt or
it.
exploit. No. We talk about motivation for offense all the time. Mm-hmm. That's an important aspect of what we do. And so, no, like, I mean, I guess there's cases where you could argue that uploading, humiliating this person maybe has a sexual component to it. But like, by and large, we're talking about, coercion, blackmail, or just straight up just trying to hurt somebody, get back, vengeance.
Right. And the other thing about this, and this is why you have to be careful, is because certain things, like when you're scoring these risk assessments, like when Jeff and I have been trained on these, like one question that comes up on a regular basis is, like, do you have any emotional identification with children? Do you go to like watch Little League games and stuff like that? And I was like, oh yeah, I do all those things. Right. Because I have kids, but that's different because you haven't been charged with a sexual offense yet. So if that's true, you shouldn't even be answering those questions or being evaluated under those criteria because you don't have a sexual offense on your record.
Yeah,
so
to be scored on it, you have to qualify. You have to have a qualifying offense for it to even score it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think how this is categorized, at least as far as this goes, certainly there's some criminal thinking that we need to address there with the client, right? And we don't want to miss the mark in treatment, because ultimately our objective is for them not to do that again.
Yeah.
Right. But then if we go down the route of you're a deviant pervert sex offender then we do miss the mark. They're not going to have buy-in. They may just start jumping through hoops because we've said this is what you need to do, and it's not going to have the impact that we want.
Right.
So not to minimize it, but yeah, I think categorizing the law makes it kind of difficult.
Thank you.
Thing out of here. So so it did talk about the harms, and I kind of summarized this part. I put that basically this article says that revenge porn mainly targets women, surprise, surprise, with around 60 to 70% of the victims being female. Female victims often endure social and professional consequences, and they're more likely to face physical, emotional, and sexual abuse as a result of those images being published.
Oh,
wow. I would imagine because they get socially ostracized or...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This form of harassment is long-lasting, pervasive, affecting victims' social and occupational lives. It leads to trust issues, lowered self-esteem, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and feelings of loss of control. Similar to those experienced by sexual assault survivors, victims describe the experience as torture for the soul. Wow. Jeez. So,
I mean, yeah, think about that, dude. Like, if you knew that videos or photos of you have been uploaded, then anytime you show your face in public or social, like, you'd always be wondering, like, did that person smile at me because they recognize me? Like, it would be a constant, like, it would screw with your mind.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, to me, I think also the violation of trust is pretty big at that point.
Yeah.
Because, we've kind of talked about trust as a two-part system, right? Like, whoever I'm going to choose to trust, they have to be trustworthy. They have to have qualities that say they're trustworthy, but then I have to make myself vulnerable to them, right? And it seems like that is pretty vulnerable. I send you a picture of me in the buff.
God, about as vulnerable as it gets, man.
Right. Because and by vulnerable, what I mean is you're giving them something that could harm you. And if they don't harm you and they, use it for the purposes of what it was, which I assume is, trying to excite your partner or,
like visual foreplay,
flirting, stuff like that, just kind of make the relationship more fun and fulfilling.
Yeah.
If they don't do anything with it, great, it's over, right? Like then now it's just showing that I can trust this person. But they violate that. Like it would be really difficult if I was in that position to trust anybody moving forward. Let alone just who cares about naked images of me? Like just trust, period. You know what I mean? Like it'd be really hard to do that.
Yeah. That. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so it's like the violation of trust, the sheer paranoia as you're going about day to day, and so do you know how it's scaled? I don't mean to keep making you look stuff up, but because I've heard that it's between both a misdemeanor and a felony, depending on like severity.
Yeah, the laws that I put on this, it's really weird because kind of the summary on this I wrote was, as revenge porn websites grew, there were calls to make it a crime because it causes harm, obviously, right? Initially, only a few states like Alaska, New Jersey, and Texas had laws against it. And later, there were 39 such laws in the United States. However, there are still gaps, challenges, legislative revenge porn. So a lot of critics argue that these laws restrict free speech and can be vague or hard to enforce. I think that second part is a little bit better. The free speech thing seems,
they're trying to use, because pornography falls under the free speech rubric, and so they're probably trying to wedge it in that way.
Yeah,
that's how they've got that, how the porn industry beat obscenity laws, right?
Sure,
the whole Larry Flint thing,
right? But they. Yes, the difference I think there is that all of those girls and guys that were in those videos not only consented to themselves being filmed, but they also consented to them being published as well. And like the second part of that, the latter is not present in this case.
Oh, right. Because free speech isn't free when you're like calling it like an act, a call to violence or or libel, slander. Like there's limits to free speech.
Right. And
so that would be a limit.
And also I think that and it's almost like, because you now have an item that the person who it's depicting is totally on board with.
Yeah.
Think about this.
Yeah.
Okay, think about it like this. I was thinking about it like this. Those goof videos where you're like, playing a prank on somebody.
Yep.
And regardless of, like, I think of Impractical Jokers, right? And you're watching Impractical Jokers, and everybody in there that doesn't have their face blurred out has signed something saying that a release saying that you can use their image and publish it, usually with some monetary gain as a result of that, right? In this case, that's not happening, right? So, and even in those cases, you're putting that out there, and they don't have that release, and they have to blur their image so people can't be seen.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, no, they just publish it. So that's where I have a hard time thinking they didn't consent to this. This person didn't release it. They didn't allow for that to happen. They sent it in a consenting manner to the individual, and that person posted it, just in an exploitative way. The free speech, it doesn't seem like that fits the cat.
No, it doesn't.
I'm not a lawyer. It just doesn't seem like the other areas of free speech would have been cited are consistent with what's happening here.
I wonder if they also have anything to say about like ownership, like who owns the picture. Like once a photo has been taken, and if that photo has then been sent, does the person that sends the photo with themselves in it, do they retain some type of ownership with them being in the photo?
I don't think so. I think that you could make it. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I would just say if you've sent a photograph of yourself to another individual and you meant to send it to them and you wanted them to have it,
Yeah.
I think it's theirs now. You know what I mean?
I wonder if lawyers argue that piece as well.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm not advocating for this. I'm just thinking of like, what are the ways that the people that are defending, like when I was like researching stuff to talk about this, when I'm just, Google searching, revenge porn laws in Utah.
Careful.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Saw some crazy shit. Like the top 3 or 4 hits, it wasn't Utah law stuff. It was attorney websites, and specifically for if you have been accused of revenge porn, here's the defense. And it's obviously happened. It's obviously being prosecuted, but I'd be wondering, like, see, we should have called those lawyers because I'm wondering what direction they take. How do they defend it?
One thing is when it comes to the websites, like it says here, because there was I pulled up a clip. We'll kind of show that here. But have you seen that documentary on Netflix? It's called Most Hated Man on the Internet.
No, but I was listening to that. I was listening to talk about it. The Hunter Moore guy.
Yeah, so it's worth a watch.
No relation.
Like, yeah. Well, I mean, takes one to know him. But and you watch it, and within 10 minutes, you're like, that's the biggest douche on planet Earth.
Was he?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it just I think about a lot, and they go in depth into some of the cases and stuff like that. And I mean, it was just like you just got an icky feeling about the whole thing, and it kind of makes a really good case for how this started to become starting to get itself like known to people and a big part of that was one of the moms of the daughters who were posted on there. But they were, so that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, that kind of shields website administrators from liability, meaning that if I have a website, so for Hunter, this is kind of how he skated on that too. But even like for Twitter, for example, so you send me a picture and then I blast it all over Twitter. It makes it hard for victims to take any action against the site hosts for not taking it down. Okay. So and a lot of people will say, like even scholars will say this should be categorized as a sexual offense, which would make it cut and dry and easy, right? And others question if it's a crime at all. Like, I think if you're causing legit harm to another person, now you got to be careful with this too, because it's like one of those things, harm. I don't know. I can just say something, and people can take offense to it. But this seems a little bit more than a person, because I'm sure there's some reasonable clause that goes into this. Like a reasonable person would deal with, some sort of those things that we described to, like occupational problems or being embarrassed or people making fun of them and follow up things like that.
It's because we're trying to think like it. Is it the lack of consent that makes it wrong? Is it the sex part that makes it wrong? Because I was thinking, like, if I sent you a video of myself singing All the Single Ladies, all like slathered in body paint, like goose stepping through my living room or something embarrassing, like that's not sexual, weird as shit. I wouldn't want that out there, but would that be illegal?
For me to post
you to post it. Yeah. This picture that I sent to you, I really wanted you to see me singing All the Single Ladies. and like, because I'm sending you something that is intended for you. It's me in a very vulnerable state. Mm-hmm. It's not sexual, but if it would be legal for you to post that, then sex is the operative variable that makes it illegal.
So this is kind of how I look at it. Like, imagine that I had, because again, it turns into like a lot of those laws turn into like a reasonable expectation. That's language that you become familiar with, right? So if I sent this to you and I had a reasonable expectation that you would keep it private, and it tends to lean towards having the ability to affect me occupationally,
which this could, my example.
Right, yeah. Right. Or turn it into like this, right? Let's say you said, "Hey, keep this private," and then you sent a video of yourself saying a bunch of racial slurs, with Nazi flag hanging behind you. Okay. That could cause some serious damage to your life if I posted that on the internet. Right.
Oh yeah.
So I deleted that video, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, but I think if you had a reasonable expectation of privacy, I think there's something wrong with that. Like certainly morally, it seems like there's something wrong with that, right? Legally, I don't. There's areas where that falls into, like and I don't know exactly where that turns into, like distribution or phone calls or anything like that. But if I had a reasonable expectation of privacy in a certain way, and then that privacy is violated, and that can cause financial, occupational, marital, personal harm to me, well, then now you're liable for that. You know what I mean? Like that causes problems. So I think that, yeah, all the single ladies, I don't know, maybe you have a really good voice. Who knows? So, well, let's see. I wanted to see. So this is Dr. Charlotte Laws. She wrote a book called The Fierce Mom, and the documentary is Most Hated Mom on the Internet. And on that, it shows at the time that was all going down, Dr. Drew interviewed her and Hunter. They kind of had a debate online, so it kind of goes over a little bit. So this is 2022, and Dr. Drew is talking to her again. That's when the documentary came out, The Most Hated Man on the Internet. So let's give it a whirl here.
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to...
Oh, wait. Is this it?
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night during a fire.
Fire officials say all 10 people died due to the fire, which was too hot for their bodies.
That wasn't it at all.
Rewind, or play that again. What the hell?
Sorry, folks.
Quick detour. Play that again.
Yeah.
What? That was weird.
10 people died in the Bronx last night due to a fire that killed 10 people in the Bronx last night during a fire.
Fire officials say all 10 people died due to the fire, which was too hot for their bodies.
Dude, isn't that life?
That's funny. What's that from?
I don't know. I think I don't know.
It took me a minute. Like,
hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Welcome everyone. Very special guest today. We are.
Oh geez, shut up, Dr. Drew. So this was. Let's cue this up here. And we'll go, I think, right about here's where I wanted to go. Yeah. Okay. So he's getting into kind of the legal side of this. And she gets into, this was minute 12. And this is Ask Dr. Drew show. So we'll look at what she has to say about this here. And they talk about free speech and so on and so forth, but she makes some really good points.
No doubt that allowed you to do something with this maniac.
Well, I mean, my daughter was hacked, and it was because she was hacked that I was able to do something. Otherwise, the only law that even could remotely help me was the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, because that's the only law that pertained at that time. And that's really for civil cases. So with somebody like Hunter Moore, it's not really going to do much because he was not afraid of civil since he had no money. He didn't care if he got sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I have since learned that the perps who put up and distribute revenge porn are very afraid of law enforcement, not civil cases. So that's why laws are really important. And I do support revenge porn laws. I definitely support a federal law. It's really important that we put something in place, which we don't have now. And the main obstacle has been the ACLU, who believes that nude pictures are speech. And so they've been fighting us from day one. I totally do not agree with them. And now we also have the certain individuals in the progressive side of the Democratic Party who are defund the police mindset, who do not want additional laws. They do not want more people to go to jail. So therefore, they're against it now. So according to Jackie Speer, who is the congresswoman who brought forth this particular federal measure, she says there's only a 4% chance that something's going to pass. And she's retiring after this term. So who's going to, take on the banner? I have no idea.
Is this something that could be handled on a state-by-state basis?
Well, we have laws. We actually have laws now in 49 different states. And but the problem is that most of them are misdemeanors. They're kind of a slap on the wrist. And secondly, it's confusing. All the laws are different from one state to another.
What state's holding out?
So, if you have a victim in Georgia and a perpetrator in Utah,
I guarantee it's Florida.
you don't even know which law pertains. And South Carolina doesn't even have a law yet at all.
South Carolina.
So
I knew it was a
it's very
southern
important
state.
we have a federal law and that it have some teeth to it, and that it be able to be a felony, even if it's what you call a wobbler. A wobbler means that the judge could decide whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, which is what we were trying to get passed in California, but we were not able to succeed.
Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, so she's obviously advocating for not just this to be, and maybe what I was talking about earlier in terms of like a reasonable expectation of privacy. I mean, well, you and I both know, dude, you can sue anybody for anything on a civil side of things.
Sure can.
I mean, yeah, anything, right? You just make something up, and then they have to, by the time it gets down to discovery, however many thousands of dollars deep you are into, attorneys, like you may decide, oh, wait, if I do a cost benefit analysis here, if I just pay this person a little bit of money, whatever it is, then that actually is less than what I would take to get this to a summary judgment. And certainly if I went to trial or something like that. And it could be just made up out of whole cloth, which means you never get to discovery, which means their side never sees how preposterous their claim is. And so, they're just basing it off of, that their attorney said, oh yeah, took him for what they said. And they go to that, which is crazy. So clearly, of course, on the civil side, you can sue anybody for anything. She's advocating for criminal, though, which means that like kind of what we're dealing with, where you have a class A misdemeanor, but she wants it to be a felony too, right? Like probably a felony 3, I would assume.
I think
on the lower end of the spectrum, and a federal law to boot.
so
So
that way there's not all the, like she's saying, if you have an offender in Utah and a victim in Georgia, that who gets charged with what. If it's, I mean, I guess that would make sense that it would go federal then.
But then that's crazy though, because then it's a federal offense. And I mean, I know people sometimes hear a federal offense, like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, in a lot of ways, sometimes I'd be like, man, if I was to go to prison, I'd rather get a federal offense than
Isn't that
like
weird?
a state. I know, like a state one, but and in terms of the time and stuff, I mean, it's 6s a lot of the times,
It's like the Fed, you might do more time in prison, but your probation is going to be easier.
Oh yeah.
State, less time
Yeah.
in prison, your
For
probation sucks.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know though. I mean, she makes a good case for it, but and she was fortunate, like in her case, because somebody had hacked her daughter's computer, and otherwise they wouldn't have been able to get the
The
photos.
hacking was what was illegal.
But since then, she's advocated a lot of this because her daughter's image got out there, and they had to go through this whole process that it was hacked to even get down to the bottom of it. It's a good
It's
documentary.
a good
though.
mom. I love that.
Yeah.
She went after that dork.
Oh yeah. As a dad, I think I'd go about it a different way, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
Plausible.
Different set of
deniability and
laws
all,
would
yeah.
apply. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other article that we went over too, though, and I think this has a lot to do that the article was titled Development and Validation of the Beliefs About Revenge Porn Questionnaire. And this was published in the Journal of Sexual Abuse. So what they basically did, the researchers for this, they validated what was the Beliefs About Revenge Porn Questionnaires, the BRPQ. It's hard to say, BRPQ, to understand beliefs related to this offense. And so their questionnaire had 4 main areas: views on the victim, harms of the victim, preventing vulnerable behavior, and minimizing the offense. And they tested its validity by assessing traits like empathy, belief in a just world, dark personality traits, our favorite, and the acceptance of rape myths. And they also found that the BRPQ predicts both the likelihood of this offense and how people judge it after the fact. So I think the reason why they did this is there's just limited data on public attitudes about non-consensual sharing of private sexual materials, which seems like if you were to get public sentiment in the right direction, you could get a more comprehensive or perhaps a federal law passed on that. Because it seems I mean, there's certainly, if we polled a bunch, which is kind of what they did, but how people think about this definitely has, especially lawmakers, you know what I mean? But politicians, I look at them anymore and I'm just like, well, your number one job is to just get votes. So what your opinion is often doesn't matter.
It would take the public getting fired up about it.
Right. And then politicians would answer the call because they need votes. Right. So, but I don't know. Their methodology is they conducted online survey, 511 participants. They were recruited from social media online research programs. The participants had to be 18, fluent in English. They completed this. They were assigned either to a couple different studies, had 91 items assessing beliefs about non-consensual sharing of private sexual images. It was rated on a 6-point scale. I wrote down some of the questions on here.
Awesome.
It was, so you would rate this on a 6-point scale. If an individual isn't a virgin, then it shouldn't be a big deal if sexual pictures or videos are shared of them.
So they're kind of hitting up like is this person morally loose, and is kind of testing people's beliefs on that, right?
And this was on a 6-point scale, Likert scale, agree, disagree, so on and so forth. Yeah. Another one, and this wasn't all of them, by the way. There was 91. I kind of just did the hits.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to share naked pictures of an ex who cheated on you.
I know I have some clients I know that would endorse that. I think most wouldn't, though.
Yeah.
They'd say that's messed up.
Right. Yeah. People who show off their bodies or post provocatively on social media deserve to be victims of revenge porn.
Deserve, damn.
I know that's crazy. I mean, I guess what they're saying there is like, if you already have an OnlyFans account, and
like you're already putting it out there.
Yeah. But then you send a more intimate, thing to your boyfriend or girlfriend or something, and then they post it on there like, oh, you deserve. That's
it's bypassing consent.
Yeah.
Kind of like the same thing. Like, if a person's sexually promiscuous, then they deserve to get raped or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like that same kind of thing.
Dude, can you imagine answering in the affirmative to this one? Victims of revenge porn should feel flattered that their images have been shared.
Oh my God. Did people answer that?
Like, Well, yeah. You know what I mean? I got the results here.
Yeah. Okay.
If a person shares sexual photos or videos with someone, then it should be seen as a fair game for that person's friends to also see the content.
Fair game. See, I listen to these and like, I guess you've got the results and you'll read them. But when I hear those, it's like, it's almost like too obvious. Like what the morally correct answer is. But maybe do people believe that? Like, you put it out there, fair game.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll go over the result. Oh, I know, but like, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Your mind is like,
it seems like obviously.
Well, and I suppose because I just haven't been in the position to I don't know, engage in such behavior. It's hard for me to have like a level of empathy where I have an understanding of it, because like anytime it moves in the direction of, like, hey, you want to talk dirty? I'm like, shut it down. Like, I don't even want to have this conversation, weirdo. Like, I'm like, because I mean, just the thought, like I would immediately crack up laughing. I was like, yeah, right now I'm reaching in. I'm like, I just start. I mean, I can't
texting what you're
again.
doing.
I'm not judging it. I'm saying I feel like an idiot, like the idea that I'm going to say something, because I would be thinking that they would look at it on the other end and just,
laugh.
Like, idiot. Does he know how to do this? Usually it is only individuals who dress in a sexualized way who are victims of revenge porn.
What was she wearing?
Right. Yeah. Only individuals from working class communities commit revenge porn.
What? The will-to-do don't.
Yeah.
For those lesser thans.
Yeah, only you lesser thans.
Only you lesser thans.
If a person has been sent pictures or videos of someone or had permission to take them, you can't really call it revenge pornography when they are shared. Victims of revenge pornography enjoy the attention it brings.
Oh, God.
And lastly, it cannot be classed as revenge pornography if the images or videos are shared by a partner.
It's almost like, that common risky thinking assignment we have where it gives you like a cheat sheet of different risky thoughts that the average person that committed a sex offense has.
Yeah.
This is just basically snapped right from that, just kind of with like the digital component added to it.
It did look like they just threw in a bunch of cognitive distortions.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And then people either agreed or disagreed
That's
about
exactly
it.
what it is.
So here's the results. The study found this, some connections between people's beliefs and their personality traits. Surprise, surprise. Believing that victims of sharing private sexual images are promiscuous and thinking this can be avoided was linked to having less empathy and holding certain personality traits like believing in a just world, having dark personality traits, and accepting rape myths. These connections were moderately strong, suggesting they matter. Seeing victims as promiscuous also related to thinking victimization can be avoided, but it was connected to believing the victims don't suffer much harm. Believing people can prevent this type of victimization was tied to thinking it causes less harm too, showing a complex relationship between these ideas. So,
kind of going around like you shouldn't have taken that picture, like a blaming thing, like
yeah.
It's your fault because you took the picture. What do you expect? Like
Right.
that type of mindset.
Which, I mean, like, and that's silly too. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is kind of how I think about it. Like, if you're engaging in behavior that is intended to further or attend to the intimate relationship or the romantic relationship that you're in, yet to me that seems like the intention was never, oh man, this is going to go on the internet one day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know the mentality, and I know people say, well, what? You should have thought about that when you sent it. Come on, dumbass.
Right.
That's not what goes through people's heads. Like, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking like, I really like this person, and like, I hope they enjoy this, and this is fun, and we're just having a good time. That's what they're thinking, right? They're not thinking, oh, because if they did think that, why are they even with him? Do you realize the paradox that you've just created?
Yeah.
Like,
if you're vulnerable enough to send a picture like that, but you wouldn't feel that, you wouldn't send it because you wouldn't feel vulnerable enough to send it if you thought that person was going to turn around and upload it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like, if you ever was thinking, man, Jimmy would really like this, but he might post it on me one day. Okay, then don't be with Jimmy. You know what I mean? Like that. So they're clearly not thinking about that, and asking somebody to think about that when they're caught up in the, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback this and be objective when you're not emotionally connected to the individual to whom you're sending the images.
That whole line of thinking that you should have thought of that before X thing just so
well, right. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying
shit.
that's so dumb to think that, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no shit. But it's like, that's not what's going through their head. Their analysis revealed that lower empathy, stronger belief in a just world, and higher psychopathy and greater acceptance of rape myths predicted the view that victims are promiscuous, essentially that this is their fault, right? In contrast, when predicting beliefs about the harm suffered by victims, higher empathy, sadism, and Machiavellianism, lower belief in a just world, lower psychopathy, and lower acceptance of rape myths were linked to thinking that the victims suffered more, right? Which kind of all adds up.
Sense,
And
dark triad shit. Huh?
Ultimately, these results highlight the importance of empathy and understanding the impact of victimization, as well as the influence of beliefs about the fairness of the world and certain personality traits on blaming victims. Surprisingly, only Machiavellianism and accepting rape myths predicted the belief that victimization can be avoided.
Say that again.
Surprisingly, only Machiavellianism and accepting rape myths predicted the belief that victimization can be avoided. Essentially, saying that oh yeah, the victim just should have never sent that out, or they should have never sent those images in the first place, right?
Yeah,
like, but which again,
it's not surprising, I guess.
Well,
It kind of makes sense. Yeah,
no, it does make sense, but so yeah, I mean, I guess people listening to this, one thing I would hope is that you have a better understanding of where this is. And I don't know if they categorized it as a group A, as a treatment provider. Damn, I just don't know.
Well, did enough people, I know. Well, that's the thing, like you were saying, before it to be categorized that way, has to be written into law as a sex offense. And that's going to take the public making a big enough stink about it such that the legislators actually, create that type of legislation. So like with these results, I guess that would inform how the public feels about it. I would operate under the assumption that most decent people understand why that's a no-go and why it should be illegal. But I don't know. Did it give like percentages? Like, did most people agree?
Well,
Or say that it's
did most people agree with what?
Yeah, sorry. What was the consensus as far as the beliefs about revenge porn? Like, are most people saying like, yeah, it's bad? Because there's obviously people. There's obviously people that are endorsing it. There's going to be the people that.
No, I don't think it didn't go into it. It didn't say 52% of the respondents believed it was bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
No,
that's what I want to know.
It did get into some policy implications, which I thought, kind of highlighted a little bit about where to go from here. So one thing that would help with this is just legislative clarity.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of states, they've passed revenge porn laws based on the actions of the perpetrators, but some they use vague terms like distributes or posts. And this lack of clarity leads to confusion. And of course, any attorney, worth their weight in gold or salt, or what's that phrase?
I think salt's pretty valuable.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
They're going to pick up on that and then, use that to defend appropriately too, by the way. Right. So, using descriptive terms is helpful rather than using vague ones. Technology awareness too. And then, this involves obviously electronic devices, which are ubiquitous these days. Not all states explicitly acknowledge this in their laws. So sometimes the states, they should incorporate that there is a technological component to this, and that has something to do with it, even though they don't, need to specify the types of technology, so a lot of our language is just internet capable device, right? Which could be anything at this point, right? Yeah. Evidentiary burdens. So some laws imply guilt if the perpetrator knew or should have known the victim didn't consent. And this can lead to victim blaming questions, right? Which is what we want to avoid. States should ensure that individuals have a reasonable expectation of privacy and use clear language in their laws. That's why the evidentiary burden is, well, this person should have had a reasonable expectation of privacy, right? And I don't know how you prove that. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know. Severity of penalties. Revenge porn is categorized as a felony in fewer than half of the states, and penalties vary widely. So some states do categorize it as a felony, and there should be more consistency in the seriousness of these offenses and the associated penalties.
I know it's not registerable in Utah.
No, that's the whole thing. I don't know if you would ever move it into the sexual offense realm,
right?
Because when I'm thinking about some of the concepts we do in treatment, I just don't think would apply to this. Certainly criminal thinking. Yeah. Cognitive behavioral therapy would certainly be right down the line of this. But the sexual component the sexual offense stuff has a different
success plan wouldn't make sense.
No, it wouldn't. Not at all. Website responsibility was mentioned in that some states shield websites from liability for hosting revenge porn content. And websites should have procedures to address revenge porn, monitor content, allow users to report issues, and cooperate with law enforcement. Legislation should hold websites accountable for due diligence. Again, that's kind of implied. Victim care. States should explicitly mention revenge porn victims as eligible for compensation funds. Assistance should go beyond financial costs, include psychological services. Threats of revenge porn should be treated with the same victim-centered approach as the actual perpetration. And then lastly, they talked about image removal. More states should include provisions for the destruction or removal of violating images in their revenge porn laws with clear guidelines and oversight. So that's kind of the direction that they said would help out with a lot of these things. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a vague thing. So
it is.
Yeah, it certainly, at the very least, we've established it's a dick move, right?
Yeah, right. I think that's what we can settle on.
Yeah. So, damn, that's a dick move.
Revenge porn is a dick move.
Yeah.
GSW out.
Yeah. I don't mind people getting charged with a crime for it. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I think where that lands in the spectrum of a sexual offense versus non gets a little murky. So, I'll leave that to the legislators, but I don't know. I think we
We
got
covered it,
everything
man.
out there.
We got
right?
it mastered, dude.
Let us know what we missed, folks. Okay. So until next time.